Hey, Sir Fix-a-Lot here. I've got a 2014 Porsche 981 Cayman, and the problem that I'm having is the fan, in the engine compartment. There's one on the right side, passenger side, and there's also one on the left. Those go on, they actually turn on after only like 2 minutes of operation on the vehicle, maybe 3, that kind of thing. So they're on pretty much all the time, unless I click over on the ignition and then shut it off again. Then the fan goes off, but it's not operating in the correct mode. Okay, apologize for the handheld here, but this right here is a temperature sensor, and this is on all Boxsters and Caymans. Basically, it measures the ambient temperature around the intake, as well as close to the alternator. So it just makes sure that electrical charge wise things aren't getting too hot, and then also from an intake or fuel delivery perspective, things aren't getting too hot. And so when this sender gets up to temperature, it basically opens a circuit and then sends a signal to turn on the fans. And what had happened is the previous owner had this car parked in a barn for long periods of time. It has low mileage, and mice got into this engine compartment area. I saw evidence of that with regards to mice feces and seeds and things like that. So I've cleaned all of that out. There is no indication that there are rodents in here anymore, but what they had done was this is the connector here, and they had chewed through both ends of the wire. So down here is the wire, and typically it's covered in a cloth fabric. They ate through that and they chewed through the wire. They also chewed through the wire that was right up here. So I found the harness just kind of sitting down here. And what I'm going to show you is how to reconnect all of this. So I've actually reconnected the top. I'm going to show you this new kind of, it's solder shrink tubing basically to reconnect the wires here as well as down there. And then in addition, I'll show you how to change the cabin air filter, the air filter for the engine. And then there's also this little piece here I kind of found just kind of dangling. There was a rattle in the back of the car. So this is a small harness. I went and purchased just this part here because apparently the previous owner, when they were working on it, the tabs broke off on these. So this thing's just hanging here, and it's supposed to basically connect right up here. So I will show you where I got the part. I got the part out of Gowden in Las Vegas. It's a dealership in Las Vegas that offers pretty good parts. Suncoast also, as you know, and Sunset Porsche and some of the other places have good pricing also. But anyway, let's get into the fix here, because once we fix it, we should be able to fix the temperature sender issue in that engine compartment, which again controls these fans over here on the side in order to cool, again, the intake area. Okay, here's a close-up of the harness. This is kind of like the brace that they have, and it's got a cover on it here. This is really a bad design, so you have to disconnect it on 4 tabs on this side, kind of lift it up. You won't be able to get the whole thing off. It's really difficult to do, but just get it loose. Underneath here, these are held down underneath here with a zip tie. So just clip the zip tie, get this thing kind of above board like this so that it's exposed. You can kind of see the 2 wires right here. I already stripped them back a little bit. Just get them exposed so that you can make that repair. They're held on, so that bracket is held on by an E12. So I used an E12 socket. There's just 2 bolts there, and then I strip things back with, this wire stripper here. It's going to be a little difficult to show the repair in the car, but I'm going to show it to you right here. This is basically the harness, and we're going to be connecting those two spots that I showed you. There was a blue wire and a brown wire in the car, and so here on this side there's a blue and a brown wire, and it connects to that connector. And I used these solder seal connectors. You can buy these on Amazon or on eBay. They're pretty cheap. You can get, I don't know, a couple of hundred of them for like 10 bucks or something like that. They come in various sizes: yellow, blue, red, and white, kind of in descending sizes. The right color to use for this gauge of wire is the red. So I've got a red one here. What you want to do is insert the wire into the sleeve and get it so that the copper, the exposed copper part, or the wire, overlaps in the solder right here. There's a little piece of solder right in the center, and you just hit it. This is a Harbor Freight heat gun itself, and you just heat it like this, and you'll see that the tube will shrink, and then most importantly, the solder will melt. In order to get it right sized, we're going to set it up so we clip off, let's say, some of this tubing here with some scissors, just so that the wire that's in the car overlaps with the solder. And then you stick in this side. You don't really have to cut back on the material here, just so that it again overlaps inside, and then you heat it with the heat gun. If you want to protect it from left to right or something like that, or from side to side, you can just you can isolate one side with aluminum foil, and then hit it with the heat gun, and then go to the other side, insulate this with aluminum foil, and then hit this side with the heat gun. So you can go at it in two different steps. Once you've made that connection to that wiring harness, then this plugs into the temperature sensor, and it should work fine. Okay, and there you have it. The wires are fused. I'm going to tape those up with electrical tape after they cool off, and then plug in the connector. Okay, and there you have it. The wire is covered in electrical tape. It's plugged into the sensor now, and you have to just bolt down the bracket with the E12, and then if there's any kind of wires that are outside of their brackets, go ahead and put those back in, and you should be good to go here. Next, we're going to replace this bracket right here. Like I said, these two tabs that are, hanging off the back here, where it's supposed to be hung, broke off. So went to Gautam Porsche, ordered this online. It is part number 981 610 10801, and it's an official Porsche part. Only costs $20 and I don't know, 80 cents or something like that. And this is post-COVID, so this is like July 2023. Pretty reasonable. So actually there's three tabs. There's this one, and this one. And then they would go on here. So you have to be very careful when removing them. They have kind of like teeth in the back here. So if you get back there with a tool, you have to kind of lift them up all gingerly in order to do this. You don't really have to remove this to remove anything like air filters or the ECU or anything like that. But like I said, mine was broken. So it's pretty easy. Just kind of lay it down next to it and disconnect the pieces one by one. There's a little tab here on each one, and then you just kind of pull on it and they all come out. You just have to make sure you kind of keep them in order, so black, red, blue, that kind of thing. And then the same thing on this side here. These come out black, red, blue, like that. And then this one, you gotta use a screwdriver in order to pop it out, but it will it will pop out. So same thing, coming back in, just put this one down, this one in here, and you go from there. So this will go in here, this will obviously connect on this side here, and you do the blue one here, the blue one will connect here, red will go in like this, the red one snaps in this way, I believe. Actually it's this way. Then the black one goes in, and same thing on this one here, snaps in, then it's ready to just snap back into position. Alright, I'm going to show you the right side air filter. It's a little bit more difficult than the left side, so no need to show you the left side, because you first have to remove the DME, and there's two nuts on the bottom, and then there's 2 bolts on the top. And once you get those 4 removed, then the DME should pull away like this, and you can basically lay it to the side. There's an insulating piece that comes off here, and then you just disconnect the oil connector at the bottom. It's just a squeeze and it comes out like this. Now, contrary to popular belief, you see a lot of videos where they're just kind of grabbing the 2 tabs, top and bottom, and pulling the air filter out. I already worked on this, so I use these tools in order to get in behind it and kind of pry it a little bit. It is pretty tough if it hasn't been removed in a little while. There is kind of like suction and a sealant that's around the air filter down here, this piece here, and then this kind of sticks, and it's difficult to get around. Once you get one of those plastic tools around it, it becomes a lot easier to pull. Then once you pull it, there's 2 Torx screws in here, and then you replace it with a new filter. As everybody knows, I like to use OEM parts. This came from Gowden. Believe it or not, these normally go for like $55 or $60 each. They sell it for a little over $35, so under $36 each. And they, I think, come from Febby Bilstein, so you can always buy those aftermarket, but at $36, this is hard to beat, especially for, a Porsche OEM part. So that's 981, 110, 130, 00. And again, I bought this off Gowden Las Vegas's site, but you can also find some other dealers that maybe have similar pricing and everything. But I found this to be a really, really good deal. So you buy 2 of these, and again, I'll show you that installed. Here is the assembly with the old filter removed. The filter and the housing here has, they're keyed. So there's a little flat one here, and then there's a round section here. So you just line up the round and the flat section, and then put in your T25 screws. There's 2 of them on the back end using the tool. Before you install, put a little bit of lithium or silicone grease on the on this interface here. These are labeled left and right. This is where is it? Oh yeah, it's right. This one's labeled right, so this one will go in, and then you should be good to go. And the new unit going in. Put in the T25 here. Connect the oil connection. Snap that back in. Replace the padding. Make sure you orient it properly. Put in the ECU. top two 10mm bolts first. Get those started, and then the 10mm nuts at the bottom, like this. Next, you install the engine cover, which is the aluminum piece underneath the carpet here. And the carpet, you got to make sure that, you know, the front bar up there is removed, and then you have to kind of slide it in there and make sure that you watch out for these hooks to make sure that they're exposed at all four corners as you're sliding this in, because it has to go underneath this compartment cover. This thing has to slide underneath there. And now then you can put in the back carpet and then the top strut cover. Now the rear strut panel here has 4 attachments right here in the middle, and then there's like 2 clips over here on the ends, and then 2 on the other side. So once you have this installed, it should be firm and in place, and of course there's a carpet just behind it, which installs pretty easily. This is the panel. I'm going to show you just on the left side here what it looks like. And here, we'll just kind of look like this. And this goes in basically like this. There is a lip on this edge here that has to tuck underneath the compartment panel over here. So you kind of insert that one in first, and then the rest of the clips. Note that there are these like bayonet style plastic, I don't know what they are. They basically go into holes that are in the chassis itself. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and then there's clips up here, here, and there's a couple back here, and then those just snap into place. Once you get the front panel lined up here underneath, the rest kind of just pops into place, and that's it. And then when you're done, make sure the weather stripping just kind of goes over the top of the panel like this. You could either do it by hand or use one of the trim tools that I have, that I showed you. Those I got from Schwaben. But that's it. I'm showing you these things kind of in reverse order. So this is actually one of the first things that you pull, and this is something that you just kind of grab like this and then pull out. But this is the last panel to install, going the other direction. So they do have these bayonet kind of spacer things that you can buy from the dealership if you are missing any. But this one's relatively simple. It just goes in on the side here and clips into place. Oops. Okay, going in reverse, these are the Schwaben tools I was talking about here. It's a pack of 5, I think, for like $22 or $23 on Amazon. You can also get them on Pelican Parts. That's where I bought mine from. Anyway, this one works out really well for the panels, the crown panels that are over there on the right, and also for the center one that I'm about to install. So this just has 2 clips in the center, and then there's the aluminum bar. That aluminum bar right here is has a hole in it right here for this. So it can only go in one way, and you know, same with the plastic panel. Plastic panel has two clips, and you just kind of get it into place and then push it down like that. Mine was justified a little bit to the right, so I kind of push it so that, you know, the crown panels line up. And then after this, you use T30 screws that are in here in the aluminum decorative bar. Again, it is decorative, so you know, you don't have to torque it down a lot, but just secure them fairly well. Again, they are T30s. Bolt those down, and then we'll put the crown panels on after that. So for the tower here, the key is to try to get things kind of cleaned up first, and then don't bolt down the crossbar completely yet, because you got to check for fitment. You want to be able to shift this left to right, just so that you kind of have even gaps on both sides. The way these panels are set up is they grab right here. That's the main point that you disconnect first, and then you disconnect this area over here last. So going in backwards, you have to go that part first, so this part first, kind of get that all lined up and in the corner, and push it down, and then this part goes down after that, and it should be somewhat even, kind of left side to right. There's always a little bit of a gap. I already put on the left side there, and then here's the right side. And I've already bolted down that you know, the aluminum cross member bar also before I finally put on those panels. But I've got about an even gap on both sides. Cabin air filter. So there are 3 plastic screws that look like this. They're pretty difficult to remove. You got to move the seat all the way back and then kind of reach in there with your left hand. If you're right-handed, makes it more difficult. I'm right-handed, but I just use a small screwdriver. Some people say use a quarter or a dime or something like that, but I just find that holding this, and if you just line it up right, correctly, it will go, the standard screwdriver will go right in the groove, just like that. And then you just undo it, and you can get most of it out by hand, so you don't have to go all the way, you know, remove the whole thing with a screwdriver. Just have a light that you can work with underneath, and pull off. There's, again, 3 of those screws, and you pull off a styrofoam like cover, and then you can get to the air box basically for the cabin air filter. Again, this is from Porsche. Less than $36. Again, you know, these normally go for $55 or $60. It's not worth it. Just go out and go to Gowden and buy it for $35 or $36, and that's 2023 prices. It's 9P181 9631. It is a Malle filter. Airflow has an arrow going this way, so airflow goes towards the center of the car. This is going to be installed like vertically like this, and you just open up the box. There's a couple of clips on the bottom of the box. The old one drops out, this one pushes up. You close the box, and then you reassemble that like styrofoam cover or foam cover with these 3 screws, and that's it. Here's the foam cover. This one comes down. The airbox basically has a lid on it, or a bottom that angles out this way, or it swings out this way. So you just unclip it. It has like 3 clips. You unclip it, and then the old filter, which is this one here, will slide right out, and then it slides out in this orientation, not in this orientation. Okay, so when you put in the new one, same thing, it goes up in this direction, having the arrow point towards the center of the car. And then you push it up, close up the box, and then again reassemble with the foam cover. And now the pollen filter, you just grab the panel up here, give it a yank, other side also, and then pull the whole thing out. You'll notice that on these there is a clip here, a metal clip on both sides. Just make sure that they're in place when you're putting it back in. Pollen filter is relatively simple. It's located right here. I got a part from Gowden. This was only $12. Or $12.11. The part number is 991-572-37100. It is, looks like to be a man filter, so you can buy it aftermarket, but anyway, this came from Porsche. The direction is basically, there's a triangle over here. That's really the only direction that you have. So you're going to have that triangle pointed towards the inside of the car, okay? And it'll slide in right over here. So in order to get the lid off, there's a couple of like 5 or 6 tabs here. There's one in the back, and once you release them, the whole unit will come off. The only thing you got to make sure is when you put it back on, there is a kind of a rubber grommet right here, a donut. Just make sure that you get that right in the groove there when you put it back in. And go ahead and, if you got a vacuum cleaner, go ahead and vacuum clean out anything that you might see in here. But the filter itself just slides out this way. That's it. And then the new filter, again, with that arrow pointed towards the car, it just slides in just like that, and then you put the lid back on. The lid has 2 locator pins, one here and one here. Once you get the lid on, then you kind of make sure that all of the 7 snaps are in place. Again, that grommet should be in that groove, or that the lid should be in the grommet groove. Lid goes back, or the cover goes back on, and then just make sure that you snap it in place here and on this side too. And then make sure that the weather stripping is over the cover. It'll be easier with one of those Schwaben tools. You can just run it across here and then you'll be done.